going to get rid of some of this stuff. You're going to notice on the sleeve here that there is weft insertion right here on the vent, and there is non-fusible on the hem. Now this is something you'll be doing this, the weft insertion and some fusible on your hem for your good jacket. We didn't do it for this one. We'll just do a few things at a time. But so this one is very common. What this does is if you use weft insertion or any kind of fusible, it just makes this look a lot stiffer and nicer. Okay, makes it hold its shape a lot better. And when you're doing your real coats, jackets, we'll be doing the same thing with the weft insertion. It will be right here on the hem itself. Now this one right here is a traditional method, and it's using a bias strip of cotton or poly cotton that either one, doesn't matter, that is not on the hem part but on the jacket part. And if you notice, it is stitched down really interestingly. So it's just a little prick stitch. So you go like that and then you prick down a little bit. So on the other side you don't really see it, but so that it's attached to the jacket, but it's not fused in. So that if it doesn't ever pull away from the jacket. And then it comes down, and we do the same thing right here on the hem itself. And if you make it go a little bit beyond the hem like that, it produces what we call a soft hem, because then when you fold it over, the interfacing inside goes like this and around, and so it creates a nice little soft hem. If, however, I wanted to have a really hard hem, then I would not. I would make it go right to the edge, and then when I press over, it creates a very crisp, actually a very skinny hem. A little fold there. Okay, so just other methods that you can do while you're working. And also, I've also seen where some people will, and I have done this myself with the fusible, a version of this. So I have my fusible here on the vent, and then I'll put the fusible here, but I'll bring it over just a little bit onto the jacket side, so when I fold over, I have that nice soft hem. So there's all kinds of things we can do, variations, a bazillion variations on tailoring. Thanks. So what we're going to do now is we're going to take your jacket sleeve, and we're going to turn it so it is right side out. And then we're going to take your lining that you sewed and that you have made all beautiful, and we're turning it so it is right side in. We're going to shove it inside like this. And when you do that, you're also then going to line up the seam allowances at the top, so you make sure you've got the small one lined up with the small one and the long one lined up with the long one. And then shake it out and make sure it's totally lined up. Okay? And if you do that, then it won't twist. Otherwise, if you don't do all this and you just think you've got it, more often than not, the lining will be twisted. All right, so then we take that, and we're going to start with we're going to line up the short side like this. And we're going to just move our hand over as far as we can get. Remember, we have to this big side, but we have this vent. So you're not going to get all the way to this seam because you got that vent in the way. You get as far as you can. And then we're going to stitch at a 1/2 inch. Still laughing at the cheering. It made me really happy. Alright, and you just have to kind of keep tucking the sleeve in. Do a little bit at a time. And you're going to find you can't get all the way over because, well, the vent is in the way. You can see, I'm with my hand, the vent is in the way. So I can only go so far. I can go right up to the edge of the vent, and I'm going as close to that as I can. And then I'm going to pull the sleeve, and you're going to notice that it's kind of open like this. Okay? So what you want to do then is you're going to line those up, shove that inside. And then you'll just go like this, and you'll see that it's open just a little bit right there now, and you're going to take a needle and thread and you're just going to hand stitch that closed. Okay? I'm just going to put a pin in this one so that you see it. and you just do that little teeny bit, and then look what happens. You have this beautiful sleeve, and you have this lovely vent. Ta-da! It's all gorgeous and beautiful. Everything lines up. It's all pretty. We're going to stick some buttons right here, and life will be grand. Okay. All right. I'm going to just mention the placement of the buttons while we're right here. Is that when you're putting buttons on a sleeve, you never have 2. You can have 3 to 5, generally speaking. And you start about 1 inch from the bottom. So yes, so like look at David's right here. He started, his is about 1.5 inches from the bottom. So 1 inch from the bottom is a minimum. I like the 1.5 inches right here. And look what they're doing. Isn't that fun? They've got them so that they're overlapped. And that's for the more funky jackets. And sometimes they'll be slightly overlapped and sometimes quite overlapped like that. And they go up, and when you stitch your buttons on, we'll do this later, but just so you know, in case you want to do them beforehand, they don't go through the lining. But they go through this and this. So sometimes it's easier to do this before we sew it to the actual jacket. So sometimes after you've got all that and it's all stitched in, it's really handy to grab some buttons. We have the box thing over there. You can use whatever. And go like here, place it, figure out where you want them. And while this lining is not attached or anything, then you can just go in and you can stitch them and make sure that they go through, the absolutely 100% have to go through this vent. And what is that? Oh, that's the thing. They have to go through the vent and they have to go through the under vent. Okay? So make sure. And then if you look, they're not too close to the edge either. They're about 1/4 inch to 1/2 inch from the edge.